Hi everybody, welcome to our Q&A this evening. I just said to Diane, it's very deceiving because normally we do this on a Wednesday, but it's actually Thursday today. So I have to keep reminding myself of that. But I'm Maria, Customer Success Coach here at Supermoms. And I'm joined by Diane, who is also our Customer Success Coach based in the US. And today we just wanted to hop on and really kind of do a deep dive on transferable skills. And Diane and I would have spoken about this before, but I think it's actually really important to kind of refresh on this information because we actually have so many different backgrounds, different experiences coming through that are transitioning into that Salesforce ecosystem. And sometimes we don't realize that we've got those transferable skills that actually match. And it can be quite a surprise, can't it?
Right.
For people to kind of go, oh, actually, I've got those skills. So thinking about some of the people that we talk to and who transition into that area, what would you say is kind of the most popular background that come through and transition?
Yeah, I think recently we've been seeing a lot of educators come through, as well as those from healthcare, medical field. I think with all the shakeup during the pandemic, that makes sense. Those workers in particular were kind of used to maybe doing some, especially with educators, some remote work. So they, kind of thought after the pandemic, I think they were rethinking their careers and wanted to start, something new and transition. So I think those are the two areas. I don't know if you're seeing that too, Maria, but I think those are the most popular areas that we see. And it can be difficult when you're coming from an industry that's not in the tech industry to understand that you still do have very good transferable skills over to the tech industry. So, and I think with, some of the things that might not be obvious to you, if you're an educator, if you're thinking about, how am I going to transition into the tech field, into Salesforce? I always like to remind everybody too, with Salesforce, is you don't have to be from an IT background. I think that's probably the number one background that we don't see is we don't see people from IT backgrounds or with a coding background. So you don't need to have that background to transition into Salesforce. So I like to remind everybody that I'm speaking to that number one, you don't have to come from that background, because I think that's a little bit of a worry for them. And as an educator, you're used to, number one, dealing with a lot of different stakeholders, so to say. You're dealing with parents, you're dealing with other educators and peers and students, and you have to, kind of be able to be that person that knows how to communicate with all different types of stakeholders. And that's really important when you're transitioning into Salesforce. You'll be dealing with a lot of different departments and individuals, and knowing how to navigate that is an important skill to have. I think also just being, comfortable, right? Being comfortable, presenting your ideas and being in front of people, and having that confidence, that all comes along with being an educator. And I think that is a really good skill to have if you're transitioning into Salesforce.
Yeah, definitely. And I think kind of around that teacher aspect, you've also got kind of, you're generally always working to those strict deadlines, aren't you? Like from that project management point of view, you might not call it that within that education sector, but you're working to deadlines, aren't you? You're working on projects, you're doing that communication piece. And I would definitely say that more so recently, I think that I am seeing more and more educators and teachers and people who are in that sector definitely looking to do that transition. And I always think that, especially in, the two areas that you just spoke about, it's about making that impact, isn't it? And I think sometimes people kind of think, can I still make that same impact within the ecosystem? But you can, can't you?
Right. I agree. Yeah, I think you can. I mean, it's all about helping others, right?
Yes.
And especially if you're transitioning into a Salesforce admin role, it is really about helping others, and you're trying to solve problems. And, that's a big part of your job as an educator is really to look at different individuals and different aspects and solve problems, and even more so too in the healthcare industry, right? I mean, you're dissecting, analyzing, and trying to solve problems. So I think in those two areas, especially, you have to really think about those transferable skills, and you might not even realize it. Like you said, you probably were problem solving and analyzing
Yeah.
situations and being a project manager without even knowing it. And those are the skills that Salesforce needs. So they're great transferable skills.
Definitely. I mean, the other one I would say would be kind of stay-at-home parents,
Mhm.
where you've perhaps had that career before you've had children, and you've been on
Mhm.
that career break. And they obviously are looking to kind of go but forge a flexible, well-paid career rather than obviously perhaps taking a step back or going into something that isn't suitable. And I know that you will get this too, Diane. When I speak to people, they kind of say, but I haven't had a job, and I've just been at home
Mhm.
with the kids. And I always kind of go, just been at home with the kids.
All right.
As parents, we have to
That's a
be
job.
brilliant. It is, right? And it's a
Right.
really skilled job because
Right.
we have to be brilliant negotiators as
Mhm.
parents, right?
Mhm.
Everything's about negotiation.
Right.
We have to be brilliant influencers. We have to kind of encourage, don't we? And kind of find, problem solve, again, kind of, all these different things that we do as parents are actually, our skill set doesn't fall away, does it? It's still there,
No,
and we're still utilizing all of those skills, but just in a different way. And
just in a different way.
sometimes, again, we don't recognize that we're using them.
Right. Our company is our family,
Yeah,
that we're working for. So,
yeah,
time management, organization, you're a planner probably. If you're the one that is managing, your family, then you're utilizing all those skills. And I think that, most parents are multitaskers. So even though they say, "Oh, I'm just at home with the kids," there's usually something that they're doing. They're maybe involved in something, or they're doing some volunteer work. And I always like to, remind them that that's important, as well. If you've done some volunteer
yes,
work, or you're in your child's school, even if you're just in a community, group, and what you're doing in that group, everything can be, added to your transferable skills. And we get individuals too that are off work and transitioning. Maybe their kids are older, and I've been getting this a lot lately, is that, that shifting, that they were stay at home moms maybe, or they spent some time with their family, and they're now transitioning back into the workforce after, a break, and it's a complete shift for them. So they wonder, well, I haven't done something for, 10 years, and I'm shifting, and I want to just do this for me. I hear that quite a bit,
yeah.
and focus on myself. So again, it's the same thing that, if you were taking care of your family, or if you were at home, or even just if you were off work, just think about, what activities you've been doing, and what you've been a part of, and what you've been volunteering with. Those can all be important, that important values in your life that you've learned some, easily transitionable skills. So we talk a lot about that. We try to pick it apart and see what those skills are.
We do. And it's really important to kind of understand that link, isn't it? Because sometimes when we are questioning, can we really go and do this, can we really go and do that transition, it's when we start to unpick that, and you
Mhm.
can see those common threads, that you can kind of think, yeah, I can actually go and do this. I'm
Mhm.
really good at this. And I
Right.
always think that sometimes, especially with our skill set, and especially if we've been in a role for a long time, the things that we're really good at that come easy to us, we always kind of undervalue.
Mhm. Mhm. I agree.
We kind of think, oh, well, I do that because that's just what I do. But actually, when you start to unpick it, it's really important, isn't it? Because this is a real, this can be one of your skills or your strengths that,
Right.
somebody else doesn't have
Yeah.
potentially.
I agree. It's like anything, you just become accustomed to it, and it becomes second nature to you. And you don't realize that not everybody has that, that skill set. We talk about that
Yeah,
quite a bit. What is unique to you, right?
that's it.
And so sometimes it does. it takes talking to someone else to realize that, and others, can see it in you and what your skills are. And that's actually a good point. One of the, kind of exercises sometimes I talk about when we're trying to figure out transferable skills is it's not a bad idea to go and ask someone else, ask someone that you're a mentor, someone in your support group, a friend, family member, what would they see in you? What would they say about you is your good skill set and you're really good at, because sometimes we don't recognize that in ourselves. So it's a good exercise to do because it could, help you to uncover, those transferable skills that maybe you're just not giving yourself credit for.
Yeah, that reflection piece is important, isn't it? So that you can start to build that confidence and believe in yourself. So I'm just going to see if we've got any questions here. We've got Amanda from Texas. So this is
what's this? I'm not sure what this is.
Let's have a look. So all these skills are not flying with corporate to find opportunities for me in the Salesforce ecosystem, even though I have experience working with the technology. Not to demotivate anyone here, but to bring attention to the problem and find a solution. I would love to know a little bit more actually in detail about that.
I was just going to say, it would be good to know exactly, that I think that's a good point to bring up, because we really have to know to understand what's going on with a person. There could be all kinds of different factors going on. And perhaps, by mentioning corporate, maybe that refers to the fact that, because I do get questions on this too from someone that maybe has been a stay-at-home mom. They don't have those those business skills, haven't been in the corporate world. What can they do? What do they need to work on? So that's a whole nother discussion to really talk about, those business skills and corporate skills and understanding, that part of the role in the job. But yeah, you're right. We need kind of more background, because there's a lot of different stories out there, a lot of different situations. Yeah. So I'd love to know if that poster wants to talk about, their particular background. That would be great. We might be able to do a follow-up answer for that question.
Yeah, definitely. And I also kind of think when you're doing that kind of job search, whatever training then you've got and you're entering that ecosystem, it's kind of understanding if you don't have those some of those skills, how you then plug them.
Exactly.
Isn't it? By that experience, by kind of, is it that volunteering piece? Is it something that you need to actually go in and invest in to be able to then have that skill and do that? So I think also it's about understanding, perhaps what's missing.
Right. What's missing and how can you add to that? And you can add to that. Yeah, that is a really good point to bring up, because I think when you start getting out there, putting yourself out there and interviewing, you start to see where the gaps and the holes are. And I think this user is definitely correct in saying that you can't just get a certificate maybe and think that, your Salesforce certificate and think that maybe, I can jump right in, right? There might be some other gaps that you need to fill in. And I think the good news is you can do that a lot of times with, like you said, maybe volunteer work, internship, something, to fill in those gaps. And we just have to uncover what those are. To make you that well-rounded candidate, so that you can find those opportunities. So that is a good point to bring in. And I think that's with any career, honestly, and with any role. If you're applying for something, you'll discover, they're looking for this and they're looking for that. I don't really have that right now. How can I get those skills? So it's just a piece of the puzzle, so to speak,
It is and an important piece to be able to work out, isn't it? But you can do the work there. So I think kind of understanding there are some common threads, aren't there, actually throughout whatever your background is, that do match within that ecosystem. So things like that communication piece, if you've done any of that business analysis, that project management, there are common things that you might have experienced that are going to help you, although they're not exactly within that Salesforce space, they will help you demonstrate that skill set.
Right. Right.
won't
Right.
they, within that environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
So good. Yeah. So if that user, just feel free to reach out to myself
yeah,
or Maria. You can even just send us a message. You can find us on LinkedIn and just message us. That's fine if you'd like to learn more. Or you can send an email to either one of us, Diane@supermoms.org or Maria@supermoms.org. And, maybe we can kind of pick apart that question a little bit more.
yeah,
So to speak.
definitely.
Yeah.
I can't see any other questions kind of in the chat. So we are around today.
Mm-hmm.
And this evening, we can just keep checking back to see if there are any other questions. Certainly, if you're thinking, could this be a transition that might fit for you, then obviously Diane and I are happy to chat through what those transferable skills might look like, and how we can start to kind of match that perhaps with that ecosystem, and if this is the right next step. So
Mm-hmm.
the other thing that we do have happening next week, which I think is a brilliant opportunity to actually hear from some of our alumni and their backgrounds and how they've transitioned, but also top tips around how you can do that yourself. We are hosting a Relaunch Your Career Bootcamp next week. It will start on Monday. They're very short live videos, but packed full of lots of really good information about that
Mm-hmm.
transition and how you can do that and what steps you need to take to be successful in that next stage. So certainly come and join us. I know Diane's hosting one evening, I'm hosting another, and the rest of the team, we're all chipping in next week to
Right.
deliver some really good content. So we can also drop the link in here for that.
Yeah, I just dropped the link. I just dropped the link in, and and it'll be for those in the US. It's pretty much during the day, and then the evening for those of you not in the US. And we'll have it will be a private Facebook group. That's where we're going to do all of our live sessions. Really good information, like Maria said. So if you're kind of thinking, is this a great, good career for me? Should I be doing that? If you're on the fence and you're coming from another industry and wanting to get into tech, definitely join us. At least, register for that boot camp. If you can't make the live sessions, you'll be able to have access to the recordings and all the information in there. And then you'll have a chance also to book in an appointment with myself or Maria to talk more personal and one-on-one if, again, this is a good fit for you, and ask questions, and we could talk over your unique situation.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we always say, we do like to talk, and it's great to connect, isn't it? And just find out about where you are right now and, how we can support you with that next step. So I am going to have to dash this evening because I do have another call just kind of fast approaching, but we will keep an eye on the questions coming through, and we can reply to you as the evening goes or whenever those pop up for us. So thank you so much, Diane.
Thanks,
It's
Maria.
nice to
All right,
see
have a good
you.
evening.
Take
All
care.
right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.